Ladies and gentlemen, you don't get what you want. You get what you're aligned with mentally. This is the truth people avoid because it removes excuses and puts the responsibility directly on your internal state. The life you're living right now, the quality of it, the opportunities, the people, the money, the energy, even the problems, is not random, it's not accidental. It's a reflection of your dominant thoughts, your internal beliefs, and most importantly, the way you see yourself at a subconscious level. That image you hold in your mind, whether it's one of strength or one of failure, is controlling every result in your life. Most people say they want success, they talk about wealth, they crave respect, they wish for happiness, but their mind is programmed for scarcity, for fear, for mediocrity. Deep down, they feel undeserving. They believe the world is unfair. They rehearse limitations in their mind all day long. They live in mental poverty and then wonder why they're broke. That's not alignment, that's contradiction, and contradiction always loses. If your dominant internal state is filled with doubt, fear, and insecurity, the universe, life itself, mirrors that. You attract situations, people, and results that match your vibration. If you constantly think, I hope it works, or I wish I could be like them, or why does this always happen to me, you're unconsciously affirming failure, you're aligning your mind with loss, and your external reality has no choice but to obey. Wanting something does nothing. The world is filled with people who want a better life but never take aligned action to create it. What matters is what you expect, not from others, but from yourself. What are you telling yourself when no one's watching? What identity do you hold deep in the private parts of your mind? Do you see yourself as a winner, a conqueror, a person destined to dominate? Or do you carry the weight of your past, the lies you've been told, the limitations others projected onto you? To win in life, you must reprogram the mental image you hold of yourself. That's the real battleground. Your mind is not just a tool for thinking. It's a command center that controls your habits, your actions, and the way others treat you. When you raise your self-image, your world shifts. Not because the world changes, but because your filters change. You stop tolerating disrespect. You stop chasing people who don't value you. You stop accepting crumbs and start demanding your worth. That's when power returns. Let's make something brutally clear. This is not about positive thinking. This is about mental alignment. You cannot think like a loser and expect to win. You cannot feel weak and act strong for long. You will always revert to your core beliefs. If deep down you believe you're not good enough, not smart enough, not strong enough, life will hand you proof of those beliefs again and again. That's why transformation must start with reprogramming your subconscious identity. That means speaking power even when your voice trembles, acting confidently even when you're unsure, showing up like a giant even when you feel small, because identity is built in repetition. When you tell yourself, I am a champion, I am dangerous, I am focused. Not once, but hundreds of times a day, your nervous system starts to believe it. Your mind doesn't know the difference between reality and repetition. It only knows what you feed it. So if you constantly feed it weakness, doubt, and victimhood, that becomes your emotional home. To change your destiny, you have to take full control of your mind. That means cutting off negative self-talk like it's poison, because it is. That means treating your thoughts like currency, never spending them on fear, laziness, or doubt. That means developing an inner voice so powerful that nothing outside can shake it, because when your internal world becomes stronger than your external environment, you start dictating the terms of your life. Every day, you must ask yourself, am I mentally aligned with the results I want? Do your habits, your thoughts, your emotions, your language match the level of success you're chasing? If not, the work isn't out there. The work is inside. You don't need a new strategy. You don't need more motivation. You need a new identity, one that's built with focus, clarity, and the refusal to accept anything less than domination. Your mental alignment is everything. If your mind is not locked into the frequency of victory, it doesn't matter how hard you try. You'll sabotage your own progress. You'll miss opportunities. You'll push away success because you're not comfortable holding it. That's why the game is 90% internal. Everything outside is a symptom. The root cause lives in your thoughts. You can hustle, grind, push, sacrifice, but if you still see yourself as unworthy, the results will never match your efforts. The key is not effort alone. The key is identity, and that identity must be intentionally designed. Daily, you don't get what you want. You get what you're aligned with. The world responds to certainty, not desperation. It rewards mental clarity, not scattered hope. It hands power to those who already believe they own it. Wanting success while doubting yourself is like pressing the gas and brake at the same time. You stay stuck. You burn out. You watch others pass you. But the moment you eliminate mental contradiction, the moment your thoughts, emotions, and actions agree, you become unstoppable. That's how champions are made. Rejection is not failure, it's feedback, but most people take it personally and let it define them. They hear the word no and they shrink. They interpret it as a judgment of their worth, their ability, or their future. But the truth is, rejection is a tool. It's not the enemy, it's the sculptor. It shapes you, refines you, and reveals what needs strengthening. Every time you're told no, you're being given information about your approach, your timing, your preparation, or your mindset. But that information is useless if you shut down emotionally and decide that rejection is final. The difference between those who succeed and those who give up is not that successful people don't face rejection. They face more of it. In fact, they pursue it. They see it as a part of the path, not an obstacle to it. Because when you shift your mindset, every no becomes a lesson, every setback becomes feedback, and every closed door becomes redirection. You start to understand that the world doesn't owe you a yes. The world doesn't hand you trophies for trying. You earn everything you keep by how you respond when things don't go your way. Most people are conditioned to avoid rejection. From childhood, we're taught to seek approval and fear disapproval. We crave validation and avoid discomfort, but greatness lives in discomfort. Power is born in the moments when you don't get what you want. That's where strength is forged. You cannot become relentless if you're scared of hearing no. You cannot lead if you need everyone to agree with you. You cannot dominate if you're self. Worth is tied to acceptance. When someone tells you no, it's not the end of the road. It's a test. It's a challenge to see how bad you really want it. Do you back down? Do you change your dream? Do you play smaller? Or do you adapt, come back stronger, and make them regret ever doubting you? That's the warrior mindset. That's the difference between someone who's committed and someone who's just interested. Commitment doesn't care how many doors get slammed. It keeps moving. It finds another way in. Rejection is also a mirror. It reflects your level of preparation. Sometimes you're not ready, and rejection is a signal that more growth is needed. That doesn't mean you're not good enough. It means you're being called to level up. That's the game. The goal isn't to avoid the pain of rejection. It's to get so powerful that it doesn't break you. You become immune to it, not because you stop feeling it, but because you stop letting it define you. You stop interpreting it as a personal attack and start using it as data to improve. You have to understand that every high performer, every icon, every name you admire has been told no more times than you can count. They've been rejected by teachers, employers, investors, audiences, even family, but they didn't stop. They understood something most people miss. Rejection doesn't stop progress unless you let it. In fact, rejection often precedes breakthrough. The universe tests you before it blesses you. It wants to see if you're serious. It wants to see if you'll crumble or climb. You have to become so mentally strong that rejection fuels you. It should fire you up, not shut you down. Every time you're told you're not good enough, you should get sharper, hungrier, more precise. Every time a door closes, you should feel a surge of power, not because you enjoy being denied, but because you know how to turn pain into progress. That's a mindset shift. It's when you stop waiting for people to choose you and start choosing yourself. It's when you stop asking for permission and start making decisions. It's when you stop living off approval and start building your own path. Rejection is also a filter. It weeds out the average from the exceptional. Most people can't handle it. One no and they back off, two no's and they quit. But the person who keeps going, who keeps knocking, who keeps building, who keeps showing up, that person becomes unstoppable. They don't just survive rejection, they rise through it. They build unshakable confidence because they've been through the fire and refuse to break. You cannot develop that kind of power if you're constantly running from rejection. You have to face it head on, you have to reframe it, you have to start welcoming it. Not in a weak way, but in a way that says, I know this is how the game works. I know every no gets me closer to a better yes. I know rejection isn't the enemy, it's the tuition I pay for greatness. That's when you rise above the crowd. That's when you move from average to elite. There's no shortcut here. You have to build a rejection-proof mindset. You have to wire your brain to see rejection as an ally. That means doing the work even after being denied. That means taking the hit and staying calm. That means hearing you're not ready and responding, watch me. Because the truth is, rejection is inevitable, but defeat is optional. You control how you interpret it, you control how you respond, and if you're serious about winning, you'll take every no as fuel, not failure. Your feelings are not your master, they are messengers. They're signals, not orders, but most people don't understand this. They let their feelings dictate their actions, their discipline, their decisions, and ultimately their destiny. If they feel tired, they rest. If they feel sad, they isolate. If they feel fear, they run. If they feel doubt, they freeze. This is the emotional trap that keeps most people stuck, chained to a life far below their potential, governed by waves of moods instead of principles and purpose. You were not built to follow your feelings, you were built to lead them. Emotions are part of the human experience. They're real, they're strong, and yes, they matter. But just because something is real doesn't mean it's right. Just because you feel unmotivated doesn't mean the mission has changed. Just because you feel anxiety doesn't mean you can't act. Just because your emotions are loud doesn't mean they're correct. The most powerful people in the world do not live according to how they feel in the moment. They live according to what they've decided to become, regardless of how they feel. This is the difference between emotional maturity and emotional slavery. Most people are enslaved. They feel something and they obey it. They don't question the emotion. They don't examine where it came from. They don't challenge it. They surrender to it. That is not strength. That is surrender. When you live like this, life controls you. You're reactive, not proactive. You're easily manipulated by your own internal storms. One bad day ruins the whole week. One insult ruins your confidence. One failure and you spiral into hopelessness. This is emotional chaos, and chaos is not a foundation for greatness. You need to become the observer of your emotions, not the puppet. You need to separate what you feel from what you do. Your emotions are data. They're trying to tell you something. Maybe you feel frustrated because your habits aren't aligned with your goals. Maybe you feel fear because you're about to grow. Maybe you feel doubt because you're challenging old beliefs. None of that means stop. None of that means you're broken. It just means you're human, and you're in the middle of the process. But here's the truth. Emotions are temporary. They pass, they shift, they change by the hour. If you let them guide your life will be unstable up one day, down the next. You'll become inconsistent, unpredictable, unreliable, because your actions will never rise above your mood, and inconsistency kills success. The top 1% do not wait to feel good before they act. They've trained themselves to take action regardless of the emotional climate. They've mastered the art of discipline over mood. That's why they win. You have to develop the mental muscle to act in spite of emotion. You feel tired, show up anyway. You feel insecure, do it anyway. You feel anxious, speak anyway. That's how confidence is built. You don't wait to feel powerful. You act with courage until power shows up. Emotions are transformed through action. You cannot think your way out of sadness, fear, or insecurity. You move through them, you override them. You step into the fire and let your discipline carry you when your feelings try to paralyze you. Most people try to fix their emotions before they move forward. That's a trap. You'll be waiting forever. There's no finish line to emotional clarity. Growth is messy. Change is emotional. Victory is often born in the middle of emotional chaos. That's why leaders are rare. That's why strength is uncommon. Because most people can't stomach the discomfort. They want the dream without the discipline. They want the result without the resistance. But life doesn't reward that. Life rewards the person who keeps moving even when their feelings scream for them to stop. Think about it, every major break through you've ever had probably came after discomfort, fear, or doubt. That moment where you wanted to quit, where your feelings were louder than your logic, but you moved anyway, that's the moment you grow. That's where your new identity is formed. That's how confidence is created, not through feeling good, but through doing what's hard when it's hardest. And the more you do it, the stronger your emotional discipline becomes. Eventually, you start to master your emotional state. You learn how to switch gears. You wake up feeling off, but you still execute. You have a bad day, but you still train. You feel like an imposter, but you still lead. And slowly, you build a foundation that is unshakable, not because you never feel weak, but because you no longer bow to it. That's mental power. That's emotional intelligence in its highest form. And here's something most people don't understand. Your emotions lie, often. They're shaped by past trauma, limiting beliefs, insecurity, and fear. If you trust your emotions more than your vision, your life will shrink. You'll play small. You'll avoid risk. You'll settle. Because your emotions are not designed to keep you growing. They are designed to keep you safe. And safe is the death of greatness. The mind wants comfort, the body wants ease, but your spirit wants evolution, and evolution requires resistance. So you must lead your emotions, set the tone, set the standard. Tell your body how to feel by how you move it. Tell your mind what matters by what you focus on. Tell your fear it has no vote by doing what it fears. You are the commander, not the slave. The moment you understand that your feelings are servants, not masters, you gain freedom. You gain power. You gain the ability to stay focused, hungry, and relentless even when your emotional state is unstable. That's what separates amateurs from professionals. That's what separates dreamers from doers. Discipline beats motivation every time. This isn't just a slogan. It's the dividing line between those who talk and those who execute. Motivation is emotional. It comes and goes. One moment you're fired up, ready to conquer the world. The next moment you're tired, distracted, or bored. If your performance is based on how motivated you feel, your results will always be inconsistent, and inconsistency is the enemy of achievement. The people who win in life, the people who build empires, dominate industries, and carve out legacies aren't the ones who feel motivated every day. They are the ones who show up anyway, who do the work whether they feel like it or not. Motivation is a spark. It gets you started. It's like the match that lights the fire, but discipline is the fuel that keeps the fire burning long after the spark dies out. Discipline is structure, order, repetition. It's waking up at the same time, sticking to your plan, eating clean, training hard, reading when you're tired, executing when your emotions say rest. It's showing up in the dark when no one is watching, when the praise is gone, when the excitement has faded. That's when it counts. That's when winners are made. Everybody loves the idea of success. Everybody loves watching the motivational videos, posting quotes, feeling inspired after a powerful speech, but that's not where results live. Results live in your daily actions. Results come from what you do consistently when nobody's clapping. The top 1% aren't motivated every day. They've just mastered the habit of doing it anyway, because they understand that success is not emotional. It's mechanical, it's formulaic, it's a product of routine, not feeling. If you need to feel good before you take action, you're in trouble, because life won't always feel good. There will be pain, there will be setbacks. You will wake up some days and feel empty, exhausted, defeated, and in those moments motivation won't save you. What saves you is the habit of movement, the mental programming that says no matter how I feel, I execute. Discipline isn't glamorous. It's not sexy, it's not always fun, but it's what builds real power. Discipline is about creating non-negotiables. It means eliminating the option to quit. It means removing the luxury of deciding based on mood. You don't wait to feel like doing your morning routine. You just do it. You don't skip the gym because you're tired. You go. You don't scroll through your phone because you're bored. You use that time to grow. You treat your goals like a mission, not a wish. That's discipline. It's the inner drill sergeant, the internal code you follow without question. And here's what most people miss. Discipline creates freedom. It might sound rigid, but it actually sets you free. When you are disciplined, you don't waste time overthinking. You don't live in constant indecision. You don't get tossed around by emotional chaos. You move with purpose, you act with clarity, you build confidence because you know you can trust yourself to do what needs to be done, regardless of how you feel. That's a level of self-respect that most people never reach because they're too busy chasing feelings. You have to train yourself to prioritize results over emotions. That means rewiring your mindset to understand that emotions are not reliable guides for action. They're just signals, they pass, but your mission is permanent. You don't negotiate your goals every time your mood shifts. You don't renegotiate your standards because life got hard. Discipline says, I will do this every day until it's done. That's how you outlast everyone else. Think about this. How many things in your life have you started and not finished? How many goals did you set, only to drop them because motivation faded? That's not a problem with the goal. It's a problem with your relationship to discipline. You haven't yet mastered the muscle of follow through, and it is a muscle. It gets stronger the more you use it. Every time you do something hard, something uncomfortable, something your emotions resist, you build mental armor. You increase your capacity to act independently of your environment. Discipline also kills procrastination. When you're disciplined, you don't wait for the perfect time. You don't wait to feel ready. You move. You adapt, you adjust as you go, but you keep going, because forward motion builds momentum, and momentum is what separates those who watch from those who create. Motivation fades, distractions grow louder, temptations increase, but discipline is what grounds you. It's what reminds you that temporary comfort is not worth sacrificing permanent victory. It's what pushes you out of bed when the world sleeps. It's what keeps your eyes on the vision when others lose focus. You don't skip workouts. You don't break promises to yourself. You don't fold when things get hard. You keep the line. You maintain the standard. Most people crave convenience. They want results, but avoid the responsibility that comes with discipline. But you're not most people. If you want to win, you have to raise your standards and refuse to lower them based on how you feel. Discipline means holding yourself to that higher standard every day, not sometimes. Not when it's easy, every day, because that's the price of greatness. It's not paid with bursts of motivation. It's paid with consistent effort, day in and day out. Visualize the win relentlessly until it becomes your reality. This is not about daydreaming or wishful thinking. It's about building an inner image so strong, so vivid, so emotionally intense that your brain begins to accept it as truth. Most people wait for proof before they believe. Champions believe long before there's any proof. They don't need external validation to commit. They see it internally first. They live it in their minds until it hardwires into their system. That vision becomes their default setting, and their actions begin to match it automatically. Your brain is a goal-seeking mechanism. It doesn't distinguish between what's real and what's imagined. When you repeatedly feed it images of success, when you emotionally connect with a future version of yourself who is strong, rich, dominant, respected, unshakable, your subconscious begins to shift. You start to make decisions based on that image. You begin to attract the habits, the people, the energy that aligns with that version of yourself. But if you don't program your mind, the world will, and most people walk around carrying someone else's vision. They hold onto an image created by fear, failure, trauma, and opinions. That's why they keep repeating the same cycles. They never replace the image. You must become obsessed with the picture of who you want to be. See it every morning, feel it every night, speak it in the present tense. If you want to become unstoppable, you have to stop talking like someone who's stuck. Your words are programming your reality. Every time you say, I'm not ready, or I can't do this, or I've always been this way, you reinforce an identity that blocks success. But when you say, I am becoming powerful, I lead with strength, I attract success effortlessly, your mind starts rewiring. It doesn't care if it's true yet. It cares that it's repeated. Visualization is repetition of the future. You're practicing belief, and belief is the foundation of all transformation. If you don't believe it's possible, you won't act like it is. And if you don't act like it is, it will never be. You cannot outperform the image you hold in your head. That's why people sabotage their own progress. They start to succeed, but deep down they still see themselves as a failure. So they pull back, they get uncomfortable with growth, they make excuses, not because they aren't capable, but because they're not congruent with the success they're touching. They haven't accepted it in their mind yet. You must mentally rehearse your future self so often that it feels more real than your past. Your old story will try to pull you back. Memories, people, places, triggers. But you're not obligated to stay there. You owe loyalty to your destiny, not your history, and your destiny requires imagination. It requires vision. It requires the audacity to declare a reality that hasn't happened yet as if it's already done. That's the mindset of a builder, a warrior, a leader. They don't wait for the world to confirm their worth. They decide it, and the world adjusts. See yourself walking into rooms with power. Hear your voice speaking with certainty. Watch yourself winning again and again. Feel what it's like to live the life you want. The health, the wealth, the love, the peace. Make it so real in your mind that it feels familiar. That way, when it shows up, you don't sabotage it. You don't question if you deserve it. You don't shrink in the face of it. You walk into it with confidence because you've already been there 1,000 times in your mind. Athletes do this. Fighters do this. Performers do this. They visualize the win before they even step into the arena because they know the battle is won mentally before it's won physically. But this doesn't just apply to sports. This applies to every area of life. If you want to win in business, relationships, health, or mindset, you need to train your inner world to match the outcome you're chasing. That's how manifestation works. It's not magic, it's mental alignment. When your beliefs, your words, and your actions match the vision, reality has no choice but to follow. The problem is, most people visualize failure more than success. They play worst case scenarios over and over. They imagine rejection, embarrassment, loss. They rehearse being broke, alone, or ignored, and then they wonder why they can't win. Your mind is powerful. It's always working. But if you're using it against yourself, it becomes a weapon of destruction instead of a tool of creation. You must take back control. You must dominate the space between your ears before you try to dominate anything else. The mind is the battlefield, and the vision is your weapon. When you start each day with visualization, you're not escaping reality. You're designing it. You're sending signals to your nervous system. You're training your brain to recognize opportunities, to feel worthy, to take risks, to show up with energy. You are literally rewiring your internal system to become a match for the life you want. And the more emotion you put into it, the faster it works. Emotion is the glue. When you feel it deeply, when your body reacts as if it's real, you accelerate the process. This is not optional if you want to live at the highest level. You must see it before you can seize it. You must believe it before you build it. If you can't see yourself winning, you never will. But once you do, once that picture becomes locked into your psyche, you start walking, talking, acting, and thinking like the person who wins. And then, without warning, the world starts to bend in your favor, not because you got lucky, but because you got aligned.